All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on the FZ09, just working on the clutch, just inspecting the clutch to see what's happening inside of that clutch after 37,000 miles. So of course, I bought this bike secondhand. I have no idea how many owners this bike had before. I think the clutch may have been changed before, and based on the history on the FZ09s, MT09s, you probably know that the clutch is actually a point where people are really have some concerns about either the clutch basket, which we talked about in the past, as well as just the clutch burning because of all the torque, and people doing clutch ups or just power wheelies or like launching at the drag strip or whatever. So because of that, I just want to take some time and then just go inspecting. There's nothing happening with my clutch right now that worries me. I don't think it's either like slipping or actually having any issues where besides the fact that it's a little bit like noisy. But a lot of people, that have this bike, they know how the clutch behaves, and so it's somewhat normal when you are idling at a light with the clutch out, not engaged. I mean, you can hear the basket doing a noise that sometimes concerns you, where it can be confused with like rod knock or stuff like that. And then when you clutch in or pull the lever in, you'll see that the sound actually goes away. So I'm just gonna take a look at it and see how it feels, and then just kind of do an inspection. I don't think I'm going to be removing the basket, but I have some money on the side just waiting to see if I needed a billet basket, because one of my intentions was actually to take this bike to the drag strip, so I wanted to kind of be on the safe side. But before I do any of that, I want to see the current condition to see if I'm due for a new clutch, and let's just start inspecting and see what I find. All right, for reference, this is a 2014 FZ09. So this is not the one that comes with the slipper clutch. So I'm going to be starting by removing all of the 5mm hex that are holding down the case cover. With all of the bolts out, now I'm going to be removing the protector cover, which in this case is kind of flimsy, but you know what, hey, that's okay, I'll take it. And now I'm just gonna tap it just so I can help it to come off, because sometimes it gets stuck a little bit. And I'm going to start by removing the cable, so I can move it from the housing, and at the same time I can just remove the socket that's holding or connecting the cable with the cover. With the cable out of the way, now I can remove and inspect the cover from the inside. Based on what you see, it seems pretty normal. I don't see any residue or any debris that tells me that something is wrong on inside of the clutch basket. So it seems like pretty good deal so far. All right, so I started by taking a look and inspecting and expecting to see any debris or anything that was not supposed to be in place, and seems like everything looks normal, seems to be fairly clean. So now I'm just gonna move to the basket and kind of do a visual inspection, just to see if there's any obvious cracks or pieces of like metal or anything kind of that are just been flying around in the clutch basket or the clutch area. Everything looks quite normal. So upon investigation, everything seems to be in place. Everything seems like super clean. I'm expecting this clutch, to maybe have been changed in the past, and now I'm just kind of checking, the sound that's making the actual chain. And now I started kind of just giving a little bit of a starter without letting the bike actually turn over, just so I can kind of go over the entire basket and complete a visual inspection of the actual teeth and the actual basket, just to ensure that everything looks good. Ideally, you will be inspecting on the inside after removing the basket, the hub, and everything, but I don't think I'm gonna go that extent or that route. I will essentially just take a look at the clutch friction plates and the metal plates, just to take a look at the condition. And for now, I think this is the extent of what I'm going to do for today. All right, so in order to remove the pressure plate, I will need to remove the springs that are holding the clamping force against the friction plates and whatnot. So I will be removing them all, so I can start taking a look at all of the friction plates and steel plate. So one thing I'm going to be doing is just to taking a look at, the actual friction plates and see, hey, how much material there is. I haven't, done any measurements. I need to go online and see, what is the ideal thickness of the material. They look somewhat flat, but I mean, they're not horrible, but somewhat flat. And by looking at this, steel plate looks fairly decent. The one thing I noticed, if you look at this next one, there seems to be like kind of super dark in the middle or behind where the actual friction material is. But now look at this metal plate. So when I look at this one, I started to see a pattern of, like, it seems like it's burned. There's an area specific in here that it seems like it saw more heat than the other areas, but looks very different to the previous one. This one looks, pretty burned up when you compare to the first steel plate that I removed. The friction plates for the most part look the same, but as I continue moving forward, I started to see, more and more, discoloration on the metal plate, which indicates that's a crazy, hot spot in there. But which, begs the question, is this a 37,000 miles clutch, or maybe I'm dealing with a clutch that has been sleeping for quite some time? But, to be quite honest, by me riding the bike every so often, doesn't seem like it. But this one, the next few ones are about the same. So I'm starting to think that, this clutch is really, in a place where I might need to change it. So hopefully I'm not looking to get rid of any noise. For the most part, I'm just looking for, having a clutch that's operating under, normal circumstances. And as you can see, all the next, metal plates are actually almost in the same condition. There's a few ones that are all the way up to the back of the basket that are in a better condition. So this is the one that's kind of clear. So very similar to the one that we found, the first one, the steel plate we found. And then the last one, it was also good as well, but the ones in the middle seems like they're seeing a lot of heat. Cool. So at this point, I'm just kind of taking a look and see how, easy I'm able to move, the clutch assembly, as well as, the dampers, just checking the actual basket to see if there's a lot of plate. There's not a whole lot of plate. It feels pretty tight, actually. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I don't think I'm going to be doing the investment right now to do the billet clutch, but I might be doing it at some point. But for now, I will definitely have to, replace the friction plates and the metal plates. And then this is just a summary. This is the first one. As I mentioned before, you can see the first one, the first metal plate looks somewhat good, but as we continue moving inside of the clutch or towards the center or the middle of the clutch, you can start kind of see burnt marks on those metal plates. So they have gotten hot. So I don't know if that's like lunches, wheelie.
All right, so you know what they say. I mean, if you go looking for trouble or looking for stuff, you're gonna find something. So that is so true. Like when my car is working and I'm just like looking for stuff, I stumble upon like a big issue that I didn't know it was gonna happen, which is, it's good just to do preventive maintenance. And in this case, I'm happy with, seeing the clutch. I think some of those like steel plate clutches or steel plates on the clutch were somewhat, pretty burnt. On the flip side, I will say it's been 37,000 miles. So if this clutch has not been changed, it's somewhat normal just to see some burns. And they're not just burned on one corner. They're just not burned like in very specific places. It's like all throughout. So it might be slipping a little bit and I haven't even noticed. I don't know if high RPM or maybe they just were sleeping before. I have no idea. So I'm just gonna go ahead and replace the clutch, see how it feels. I'm not expecting sound to go away or that noise, clucking noise to go away. I inspected the basket and it seems to be like there's almost no movement. So I feel like in terms of like dampers or whatever, I think it's in a pretty good shape. But I'm still gonna keep my reserve on the side in case I need a billet basket in the future. So I will be ordering parts and we'll be replacing this clutch soon, and let's see how it feels later on. So just thank you for watching this video, and I'll be super happy to share the next few things with you as we continue to rebuild the FZ09.